Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my Tower of Fantasy videos. Today we'll be doing a player versus player guide for essentially season 1. And what we have witnessed here is disgusting. It's meta, but I'm gonna be going into the different types of metas and the different type of options that you can use. And on top of that, while we'll be going over the different options that you can use inside of player versus player with the current meta, I'll be also making a tier list for season 1 meta as it stands right now. So before I get any further into this video, I have a couple complaints about player versus player, as many other people do. Player versus player, it feels laggy. There's a lot of lag. There was literally someone who was playing on the match and they was like teleporting all over the place. I was like, okay, this is cool. And then on top of the teleporting and the lag that I see that's happening in player versus player, we also have a few hackers. So congrats. I don't know what the dev team is doing about it. I don't know when they're going to get banned. But the best thing I can tell you is, just continue playing it. And you might get them once in a while. You're just going to have to take a L for that. Because until they get banned, there's literally nothing you can do but report them. But yeah, right now, inside of my server, I'm ranked 5, which is top 5, of course. And then out of the rating, it's 10,000 because of the fact that I came like 7 minutes late and everybody's grinding it. So I'm trying to just simply get up to the highest rank so that way I can go and get that 500 dark crystals. Maybe get the mount or whatever, because I do like limited items, at least in this game, because this is the game that I create content over. So let's go ahead and move over to this tier list right after we look at my setup. So what I'm using right now, because the meta right now is Claymore, Nemesis, and then is Coco's weapon, which is the little staff. So the 3 little weapons that you have that are meta is going to be this little weapon, this weapon, and then if I can go over to my warehouse, it's going to be this weapon right here. Which these weapons by themselves, they're not broken, but when you add them all together, with the fact that she shatters the shit out of people's shields, and then on top of that, she also inflicts freeze and slow, on top of the fact that Nemesis' weapon also slows you. Then she throws up these towers that can paralyze you, and it's just a whole shit fest, and it's disgusting, on top of the fact that her ult gives you immunity to like slow and stun and all this other BS that you could possibly think of. It's just kind of broken, right? So the weapons are not broken individually, but when you put them all together, then you have a meta, of course. So let's go ahead and move over to this tier list now that I have said what, the top 3 weapons are in player versus player. So we're going to move over to this tier list. And this is going to be like a season 1 tier list. This is not going to be a tier list permanently. So, do keep that in mind. Some of these characters I'm not going to put in here, like something like Frizz. I'm not going to put her in there because, she's not released yet. So the first weapon that we're going to be starting off with is, we're going to be going in order. So right now for season 1, this is strictly player versus player. We're going to have Coco Ritter in S tier because she's literally meta. Then we're going to have Crow in S tier. The reason why Crow is going to go into S tier, or you can even put him in A tier if you want, but I'm going to put him in S tier, low S tier, high A tier. The reason why Crow is going to be so good is because he's really good for dealing out a lot of damage. I think he's one of the highest damage dealers in player versus player. He's one of the few people that can actually deal with the Claymore and probably out DPS them, because he just does a ton of damage. And then when you do the up air, the down air with the charge or whatever, he moves super fucking fast. And like I said, the backstabs, they do a ton of damage. Plus on top of his ult, he gets fucking super armor. And then he can shock you too. So like, he's kind of S tier for that. And he really counters people who likes to use jetpacks if he uses grappling hook. I literally just got clapped by this man. So like, S tier in my opinion. You could put him in A tier, but that's like the lowest you're gonna go. It's no, it's literally it's literally S tier, lower S tier or whatever, but S tier in my opinion. So for Homa, she's gonna be A tier. The reason why she's gonna be A tier is because although she's not really in the meta or whatever, she still is a decent option for this character right here, which is gonna go into S tier, which is the Claymore. She's a substitute option for her if you don't have her yet, because of the fact that she offers a lot of shield shatter. Then she inflicts burn instead of freeze, which freeze is what you really need, which is really what's making this comp so broken, which is really what making it better because of the fact that she can freeze and slow her enemies. But for this character right here, unfortunately, she doesn't have any freeze. She has burn, which all this stuff to inflict is RNG in the first place. But you're for this comp, for this meta, you prefer to have freeze and slow over burn, unfortunately. And just because of the essentially her element, that's why she's going into A tier. But she's still a really good option, a really good substitute if you have her instead of the Claymore. So we're gonna move on to King. King does a lot of damage, right? He does decent shield shatter and all that. I mean, not decent shield shatter. He does good shield shatter. The problem with King is, I'm going to put him in A tier and we're going to leave him in A tier. The problem with King is the fact that he can't deal with the Claymore. So if you decide to take out King's weapon and challenge the Claymore while they're doing super armor spin, or they're using their ult and they got shield absorption on, which basically means like they're not taking any damage. The problem with that is that he's going to get out DPS and she's going to break your shield first. He has a lot of different options. He's very flexible, but unfortunately he just doesn't. He's just someone I wouldn't pick over the S tier characters because essentially, again, he has the element fire. So a lot of fire characters are going to be in this A tier list or lower. Nemesis is what's carrying this meta. That's literally your S tier. That's your high S tier. That's the highest you're going to get. She's literally busted. Well, she's not busted, but I would recommend some nerfs. But, like, by herself, she's not the most annoying thing in the world. But she's still good, still top tier. Have a lot of healing, lots of damage. Has the turrets, the slow. Just no complaints about this character whatsoever. And then we move on to the next character. We got the dual pistols right here. The dual pistols, I don't know what I'm saying. Dual pistols, they're going to be in the A, slight B tier. The reason why is because in the closed beta, she was really, really good. But with this meta, she kind of struggling. I'm not going to lie. But even then, she got, she can still shock and stun enemies and things like that. She still got that zoning kit and things like that. But like I said, against this meta, she's struggling. She'll be like low A tier, right? And I'll maybe adjust this at the end. But for right now, I'm going to leave her low A tier. I'm going to put this stuff at order in the end. Right here, Coco Ritter, Crow after that. And then we're going to move on to Shiro, right? I don't even know if I said her name right. We're going to call her Cat Girl. She's going to be B tier. She just doesn't fit in this meta. She's physical. She has no type of element alignment. She struggles. The only tool that is, she's a really flexible weapon, but the only tool I can say she offers is the fact that her ult can do quick damage, but besides her ult doing quick damage and her charge attack can hits in the air and stun the enemy for like 0.5 seconds to stop them from floating. Like, Jesus, that's annoying. But besides that, she doesn't offer much. She's physical. She doesn't align with the element. And inside this meta right now, she just not that good, unfortunately. So she's one of the weapons that I unfortunately am going to have to put in B tier, although I like her weapon a lot. So we move on to the bow character. The bow character, I'm not sure how to feel about this, but this is one of the few characters that can hit Nemesis. So say if you have a Nemesis that's sitting in the back spamming turrets, she's one of the few characters that can shoot all the way across the map and still do decent and actually fight Nemesis at a fair chance in a larger range than Nemesis can even reach or whatever. Of course, remember the Nemesis, you got that little aim zoom in that can, hit enemies or whatever, but the bow is going to be a lot better. It's the further option. It reaches across the whole damn arena, so for that, she's good. Plus, she has slow, plus she has freeze, which is just a overall really good character to use. But the unfortunate thing is, as soon as that arena gets to the final stage, the bow character is getting clapped, where essentially where she becomes completely trash, essentially. Especially if you're running against like these three things. Like, sure, she'll do good against the staff because she literally counters the staff, but against these other two in that final arena, she's going to struggle. But she does decent matchups against all these characters depending on where the arena at and how you play it. So for that, I'm going to put her in A tier. Plus, she's ice. For Zero Weapon, he's B tier. The reason why he's B tier is because of the fact he's very flexible. Okay, so Zero is a character that is really good if the player knows what they're doing. if you know what you're doing with Zero, he's high A tier. If you don't, he's B tier. So the problem with Zero is the fact that yes, he's of the fire element, but that's not the important part because of the fact he doesn't do a lot of damage. That's his main fallback. He doesn't do a lot of damage, but he has a lot of other things to make up for the damage that he lacks. He has shield exhaustion. He has a discharge skill that when you use that discharge skill, you can use it in the middle of while getting combo. And on top of that, it'll knock the enemy back. So you can literally use this discharge skill anytime to like get out of any sticky situation that you may come across. That's what I use Zero weapon for. That's what I'm running right now. I'm using Coco Riddler, Nemesis, and Zero. And Zero have been doing wonders for me. Now, I never expected to use Zero in this meta because I didn't know what the meta was or was going to be because we got Claudia as the first weapon in closed beta. But Zero is a really good weapon. If you want to use Zero, I really recommend it because he's one of the few characters that actually, if played right, if you're running Nemesis, Zero, Coco Ritter against the Claymore or whatever, he's going to be one of the few characters that you can actually do decent with in player versus player. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to use him, he's B tier, even low B tier. If you have a really good player and you put a good player with Zero, it's going to be A tier. But if you don't, B tier, right? So that's pretty much it. That's the last character. So I'm gonna rearrange this A list. We're gonna put the dual pistols down here. We're going to leave her right there. We're gonna leave King right there. We're gonna leave the bow character right there. We're gonna put Zero right here because Zero is a lot more useful than Shiro. So that's the tier list. That's everything right there. Nemesis S tier literally can do well anywhere. Fucking Claymore user, disgusting. It became what I didn't think it was going to become. Shield absorption, super armor, beats almost any mashup except for Crow. Coco Ritter literally has an ult that say fuck every type of CC or element function you can possibly inflict on me because I just ignore it. Plus she got good healing and a discharge that heals. Crow bursts your health down. You don't even know what happened half the time when you get killed by this man. Homa, good shield break, inflicts that burn debuff or whatever. You got King, literally does tons of shatter, tons of damage, has that AoE domain. You got the bow character that just does really well against a lot of these characters. A really good mashup of a far range character to deal with a lot of this stuff, but it gets very bad on the final arena, which is what essentially makes her not broken. And then dual pistols is kind of in there somewhere. You can use the character. Character is good. It's not bad, but in this meta, she's kind of struggling. Zero is bad if you don't know how to use him. If you know how to use him, he's high A tier. Shiro, she's just... Don't bring her in player versus player. You bring her into player versus player, you probably trolling, bro. Like, I'm going to be serious. But that's the player versus player guide. That's the tier list. And before I end this video, I do want to make some honorable mentions. So we're gonna hop over back to Tower of Fantasy, right? And then we're gonna click the weapon right here, right? And then we're gonna go to warehouse. Now, some couple honorable mentions that I would mention into player versus player that you could play are some of these SR weapons. So if you don't have Coco Ritter, you can use this weapon. Now it's not as good as freeze, slow. It's not gonna give you that immunity on ult, but what she does have is that same combo. You attack, auto attack, and then charge. It knocks them into the air, and then it inflicts shock instead of freeze, which is fairly cool still. Not as good as Coco Ritter's weapon, but it's a good substitute if you're looking for one. Hammer and closed beta is really good. I have a lot of clips doing good things with it, but like I said, in this meta, she kind of struggling. And if you're going against a Claymore, then she ain't going to be looking too hot, but she does have some super armor options, some knock-up options. She's going to be a last arena niche pick if you want to use her. Not a bad option to pick. And then we have this last weapon right here, which is the spear. The spear, if I was to put it on the tier list, it'll be high A tier to S tier. It'll be, and I mean low S tier, not high S tier. Low S tier as in she will be behind Crow. High A tier as in, she'll be, who did I put in A tier for my list? Who did I put in A tier? Homa. She'll be somewhere between Homa and King, right? So that's what I personally would do. she has the highest. So out of all these weapons inside of the game, when it comes to discharge skills, she's gonna have the highest shatter at just a one-shot move, and she's gonna have the highest DPS at a one-shot move. So if you're struggling with breaking opponent's shields and you want a really good weapon to just, you know, do damage, shock them, and combo off of it, the spear is gonna become your best friend. The spear is a really good weapon. Hopefully it's not being underrated. I've been saying on my other player versus player guide, which I'll link at the end of the video, I've been saying this weapon is really good. I've always promoted this weapon. This weapon in general is just really good. Just not in my hands because I suck with this damn weapon. But it's a really good weapon. It'll be A tier on my list if it was an option to put it on the tier list. So, yeah, that's the end of my player versus player guide. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next one. Peace.